Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Poland activates aircraft to ensure airspace safety near border as Russia launches airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukrainian region of Lviv. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterates his urgent calls for a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. UN chief also visits hospital in northern Sinai in Egypt to meet those injured in conflict. Over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. Another 17 kidnapped students rescued by a Nigerian army in Sokoto. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacts with the Indian community in Singapore, highlights India's success story at economic as well as diplomatic front. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar reiterated India's commitment to manufacturing and creating more businesses in the country while he was addressing Indian diaspora in Singapore. Jaishankar is on a 3-day visit to Singapore where he met Singaporean corporate figures on Saturday. He will also meet the top leaders of the country and will call upon Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong.
There has to be a vision for a country. There has to be a leadership. There have to be policies. I mean, you know that all those of you who live in Singapore, who have spent time here, that what has changed this country has actually been those qualities: the leadership, the vision, the commitment, the delivery, the efficiencies. So today what you are seeing in India is actually a commitment to manufacturing, to creating more businesses, greater employment. And this is actually, in a way, buttressed by a conscious attempt to create a startup culture.
Jaishankar further praised India's leadership during its G20 presidency.
Today, it is a country with a momentum. It is a country with a vision. It is a country with an ambition. And in many ways, when I go out of India, I find increasingly I discuss less and less foreign policy, and I discuss more and more with other people what is happening in India. But the world has also noted the change of behavior, the change of attitude, the different levels of confidence that I keep stressing. So they saw that we had a very daunting responsibility last year of managing the G20, of leading the G20. And very honestly, the prediction in the market was that, the Indians are in for a really tough time. They were not entirely wrong. We were in for a tough time, except we overcame it. That contrary to the expectations of many, we were actually able to get a very divided world to come together on some of the most difficult issues of the day, and then agree on an agenda which is good for, particularly for the developing countries, what is called the Global South.
As Festival of Kala, Holi's fever grips country, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh travelled to Leh in Ladakh to celebrate the Festival of Kala, Holi, with armed forces personnel at Leh military station. The minister and armed forces personnel were seen smearing colours at each other and exchanging greetings. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey was also present on the occasion in Leh. The Festival of Colour Holi celebrates the triumph of good over evil. One of the biggest festivals in India, it is celebrated with great fanfare by Hindus around the world. Rajnath Singh was earlier scheduled to celebrate Holi with armed forces personnel deployed in Siachen, but due to the inclement weather conditions there, his schedule was changed and decided to celebrate Holi in Leh. Rajnath Singh hailed the valor of Indian Armed Forces personnel in protecting the border.
आप लोगों के फौलादी और बुलंद हौसलों के घेरों के बीच हमारा पूरा देश खुद को पूरी तरह से महफूज पाता है। हमारे देश की एक लंबी सीमा है। इन सीमावर्ती क्षेत्रों से कभी कभार चिंताजनक खबरें भी आती हैं। इन खबरों के बावजूद आपको मालूम है कि आपका देश एक खुशहाल भरी जिंदगी जी रहा है और लगातार यह हमारा देश आगे बढ़ रहा है।
The Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh laid a wreath at Hall of Fame in Leh, Ladakh. The Hall of Fame is a museum constructed by the Indian Army in memory of the brave Indian soldiers who laid down their lives defending the motherland. It stands as a reminder of the great sacrifices made by our soldiers to ensure the safety and security of our country. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and the release of Israeli hostages held in Gaza. He witnessed a long line of blocked relief trucks on Egypt's side of the border with Gaza while visiting the Rafah crossing on Saturday. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz criticized Guterres in a social media post for blaming Israel without condemning in any way the Hamas-ISIS terrorists who plunder humanitarian aid. We have more.
Well, the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres visiting that Rafah border, crossing the Egyptian side of the border crossing, calling it a moral outrage that so many aid trucks were lined up on the Egyptian side of the border and unable to access those who so desperately need the help inside the Gaza Strip. He said it was a moral outrage that could not happen. He also called for an ironclad commitment from Israel that humanitarian supplies can receive unfettered access to those who so desperately need it in the Gaza Strip. But this visit will have much of an impact, but it does join a chorus of international pressure when it comes to the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, called catastrophic by aid agencies, and in the context of a rift between the Israeli government and some of its closest allies. We saw just in the last day or so Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, here in Israel, meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu and the war cabinet, urging the Israeli government against an operation in the southern city of Rafah, pinned up against that Egyptian border, saying it would be a mistake and that the US position is that it should not happen. Prime Minister Netanyahu pushing back very firmly, saying even with or without US support, Israeli forces will go into Rafah, an operation which Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, say would lead to humanitarian catastrophe. Alex Kadya in Tel Aviv, reporting for DD India.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres began his annual Ramadan solidarity trip in Egypt on Saturday. During his visit, Guterres traveled to northern Sinai and met civilians from Gaza at the General Hospital in El Arish. He spoke with women and children who had been injured during the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. The UN chief also met UN humanitarian workers in Rafah. Following his engagements in Egypt, Guterres will proceed to Jordan, continuing his Ramadan solidarity trip. The UN Security Council is set to vote on a resolution on Monday demanding a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. The resolution put forward by the 10 elected council members is backed by Russia and China, who vetoed a US-sponsored resolution on Friday that supported an immediate and sustained ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza. The 22-nation Arab group at the UN issued a statement Friday night appealing to all 15 council members to act with unity and urgency and vote for the resolution to halt the bloodshed, preserve human lives and avert further human suffering and destruction. Since the conflict broke out on October 7, the Security Council has adopted 2 resolutions on the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza, but none has called for a ceasefire. Israeli army released a video on Saturday of its commanding officer of the Southern Command commenting on the operation around Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. The Israeli commander has said troops will continue their operation at Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, until the last terrorist is in their hands. Fighting raged on Saturday around Gaza's main hospital, where Israel says it has so far killed more than 170 gunmen in an extensive raid. The Israeli army released footage early on Sunday to show an air raid on Baalbek, Hezbollah's stronghold in eastern Lebanon. The Israeli army in a social media post said the strike targeted a manufacturing site containing weapons belonging to Hezbollah. In the same post, the Israeli army said that aircraft had also struck rocket launchers directed at northern Israel earlier, as well as intercepted a number of launches. Hezbollah said in a statement that response to the bombing of a place in the city of Baalbek, it had targeted an Israeli missile and artillery base in Yoav and Kaila barracks with more than 60 Katyusha rockets. Like every Saturday, hundreds rallied in Tel Aviv urging the Israeli government to make a deal with Hamas to secure the release of hostages held in Gaza. The demonstrators raised pictures of dozens of Israeli hostages held by Hamas in Gaza since October 7. An Israeli delegation led by Mossad chief David Barnea is in Doha for indirect negotiations with Hamas. The sides have previously said that if a deal is reached, Israel would suspend its Gaza offensive for 6 weeks and recover 40 of 130 hostages still held by Hamas. Hamas wants any ceasefire to include an Israeli commitment to end the conflict and withdraw forces from Gaza. Israel has ruled this out, saying it will eventually press the campaign to dismantle Hamas. All right, and still to come on DD India News Hour. Russia launches airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukrainian region of Lviv on Sunday. Polls open in Senegal as country votes for a new president. Hundreds of Catholics in Philippines pray for peace during the Palm Sunday Mass, marking the beginning of the Holy Week.
In today's episode, let's try to understand what does it mean to truly celebrate all women. Let's uncover the layers of their struggles in different walks of life.
My biggest motivation was to save the environmental waste that I was creating, to reduce the carbon footprint, waste footprint. And when we talk about menstrual waste or periods as a topic, I think this fits in very well with the intersection of social and environmental issues.
The weather in Meghalaya definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And then sort of maybe just take the region in the state and try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
We address financial education topics, from making a family budget to creating a small business plan for micro-enterprises. Topics also include health and wellness for women.
Global temperatures have changed these days. That too, it doesn't rain where it needs to rain. And in this situation, the only crop that survives is millet.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Polls open in Senegal on Sunday as the country votes for a new president in the election. The election preceded political upheaval, which saw violent anti-government protests and boosted support for the opposition. 19 contenders are vying to replace President Macky Sall, who is stepping down after a second term. His ruling coalition has picked former Prime Minister Amadou Ba as its candidate. And the US has officially barred UNRWA funding through March 2025 after US President Biden signed a $1.2 trillion government funding bill into law. The bill also eliminates funding for the UN Commission of Inquiry against Israel and fully funds the annual US security commitment of $3.3 billion for Israel, which allocates funding for the Iron Dome and other defensive systems. The act withholds funds from the UN Human Rights Council to hold it accountable for blatant anti-Israel actions and reform the Council's election process to prevent human rights abusers from becoming members. The bill also forces the UN and other international organizations funded in the bill to assess and report on efforts to combat anti-Israel bias and anti-Semitism and to vet personnel for connections to terrorist groups. The act will also implement new conditions on any assistance to Gaza, including mechanisms for coordination with Israel, prevention of diversion to Hamas or other terrorist entities, and a requirement for third-party monitoring. Former US President Donald Trump continuing his winning streak in the race to the White House. Trump registered victory in the Republican primaries in the state of Louisiana and Illinois, while President Joe Biden won the Louisiana Democratic presidential primary. As per the early projections, both Trump and Biden are expected to win over 88% of votes. Earlier this week, Trump won the Illinois Republican primary. Sunday, the 24th March, is the day of mourning in Russia after a large concert venue near Moscow became the scene of a mass shooting late Friday. At least 133 people were killed, including children, according to the officials. Dasha Chernysheва has more from Moscow.
Speaking 19 hours after the terrorist attack at the Crocus City Hall, Russian President Vladimir Putin said 4 men directly involved in the attack have been detained. Russian Interior Ministry says they are all foreigners. FSB had earlier said that these men were trying to escape to Ukraine. President Putin said it is now needed to identify all the accomplices who were involved in the attack, people who have helped to plan, stash weapons, get to the scene. He did not assign the blame, but said whoever they are, they should be punished. So now the investigation focuses on who stood behind this attack. Sunday has been declared the National Day of Mourning in Russia. But as the situation settled at the site of the attack, people started to bring more and more flowers in memory of the victims. Hundreds of people volunteered to donate blood. The body count has been rising as many people were trapped inside the rooms where they tried to hide from the gunmen and later suffocated. Dasha Chernysheва in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
And in the latest update from Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia launched airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukrainian region of Lviv on Sunday. The head of Kyiv's military administration said that Ukraine air defense downed about a dozen missiles over Kyiv and nearby areas. Meanwhile, Poland stated that a Russian missile went about 2 kilometers into Polish airspace. The operational command of the Polish Armed Forces said on the social media service X that Polish and allied aircraft have been activated, which may result in increased noise levels, especially in the southeastern part of the country. All right, Dasha Chernysheва from Moscow joins us live with more details. Dasha, Russia has launched airstrikes on Kyiv and Lviv, which is the western Ukrainian region. Now, it has also prompted Poland to launch necessary procedures to protect their airspace because apparently a long-range Russian cruise missile entered Polish airspace for 39 seconds, according to the sources. Could you give us the details of what actually happened?
Well, according to the statements coming from the Polish side, the Russian cruise missile has violated the Polish airspace and has remained there for 39 seconds. It has violated and then returned to leave this airspace. In response, they had to raise their aircraft in Poland. However, to these statements, there has been no confirmation from the Polish side. From the Russian side, we haven't heard it either. The Russian Ministry of Defense hasn't provided yet any comment neither to the attacks against the Ukrainian side on Sunday nor towards these missile which is claimed to have violated the Polish airspace. Again, the Russian Ministry of Defense is regularly saying that they are striking the military targets in Ukraine that are related one way or another to the military-industrial complex of Ukraine in order to achieve the goals of what Moscow calls its special military operation in Ukraine, that is to demilitarize Ukraine and to denazify it and to destroy all the weapons that Ukraine is receiving from the western side. Obviously, we've heard the reports from the Russian MOD that many of those weapons are coming from the western parts, from the western borders of Ukraine, from the western countries, and that's why that could be that the Russian military were targeting some of the military targets in that area, but we are yet to hear the confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense on that.
Indeed. Now, Dasha, a Russian missile previously entered Polish airspace in December 2023, remember? The incident led Poland, who is a member of NATO, to summon the Russian charge d'affaires and demand an explanation. Any such thing on the cards yet?
Well, charge d'affaires was summoned because Poland once again has found the wreckage of the Russian military weapons on its territory. Now, back then, Russia has once again stressed that it is not targeting Poland or anyone else, rather it is targeting the military infrastructure of Ukraine. And in 2022, Polish military have also later confirmed that the Russian military, the Russian weapon has resulted and ended up on the Polish side of the border as a result of the work of the Ukrainian air defense systems. So again, we are yet to hear for more confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense, but this has not been on the cards so far. And also we understand that the conflict between Russia and NATO and Russia and other Western countries have been minimized and the diplomatic presence has been complicated.
Dasha, any information that these attacks are in any manner related to the recent terror attack that took place in Russia's capital?
Well, at the moment, the investigation into the act of terrorism at the Krakow City Hall has not provided any result with regards to who is the head, who is behind these attacks. What they have said that they have found so-called the hands of these attacks. They have arrested 4 men who are believed to have been directly involved into the shooting at the Krakow City Hall on Friday evening. The next step of this investigation would certainly be to establish who has ordered this act of terrorism in the Russian capital, and the Russian president, speaking 19 hours after this attack took place, he didn't assign the blame. He said indeed they
non-lethal projectiles into a crowd of migrants attempting to dismantle the razor wire barriers. The U.S. Appeals Court on March 20th began hearing arguments on whether to continue blocking Texas law that would empower state authorities to arrest and prosecute migrants for illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. The dispute over Texas law is one in a series of legal battles between Republican state officials and the Biden administration over the state's ability to police the border. And in London, dozens gathered outside the Foreign Office to protest against a new national security law that came into force in Hong Kong on Saturday. The protesters say the law, also known as Article 23, erodes freedom in the city and damages its international financial hub credentials. It all took effect at midnight, days after Hong Kong's lawmakers passed it unanimously, fast-tracking legislation to plug what authorities called national security loopholes. Chinese Coast Guard ships hit a Philippine supply boat with water cannons on Saturday in the latest confrontation near a disputed shoal in the South China Sea, causing injuries to its Navy crew members and heavy damage to the wooden vessel. The far-flung shoal has been occupied by a small contingent of Philippine Navy and Marines on a marooned warship since 1999, but has been surrounded by Chinese Coast Guard and suspected militia vessels in an increasingly tense territorial standoff. It's the second time the Philippine boat has been damaged by the Chinese Coast Guard's water cannon assault in March alone. Hundreds of pro-life activists rallied through Argentina's capital on Saturday, demanding the repeal of the country's abortion law. The demonstrators marched with banners "No to Abortion" and "Argentina without abortion." Argentina's President Javier Milei has expressed its rejection of the abortion law passed in the South American country in December 2020. Milei, during his presidential campaign, promised to hold a constitutional referendum on the abortion law. All right, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Hundreds of Catholics in Philippines prayed for peace during the Palm Sunday Mass, marking the beginning of the Holy Week. The Holy Week, which begins from Palm Sunday and ends on Easter Sunday, marks the last week of Lent, during which Christians fast, pray and give alms to the needy. British ultra-runner Jasmine Paris became the first woman ever to finish the Barkley Marathon's 100-mile race held in Frozen Head State Park in Tennessee. Paris completed one of the most challenging ultramarathons in the world with 99 seconds to spare in the 60-hour cutoff. Only 20 people have completed the race within the allotted 60 hours since its inception in 1989. A new look at Matt Reeves' 2022 hit film, The Batman's spin-off series called The Penguin, was shared in a new teaser trailer. The 8-episode show stars Oscar-nominated Irish actor Colin Farrell as the villainous Oswald Cobblepot and the Penguin in Reeves' Batman universe.
Show love.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. United States pledges its support to the Southern Africa Development Community's quest to find a solution to the ongoing conflicts in Mozambique and the Democratic Republic of Congo. We tell you all the details as India gears up for the upcoming Lok Sabha polls.
In today's episode, let's try to understand what does it mean to truly celebrate all women. Let's uncover the layers of their struggles in different walks of life.
My biggest motivation was to save the environmental waste that I was creating, to reduce the carbon footprint, waste footprint. And when we talk about menstrual waste or periods as a topic, I think this fits in very well with the intersection of social and environmental issues.
The weather in Meghalaya is definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And then sort of maybe just take the region in the state and try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
We address financial education topics, from making a family budget to creating a small business plan for micro enterprises. Topics also include health and wellness for women.
Global temperatures have changed these days. That too, it doesn't rain where it needs to rain. And in this situation, the only crop that survives is millet.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and let's have a look at the headlines once again. Poland activates aircraft to ensure airspace safety near border as Russia launches airstrikes on Kyiv and the western Ukrainian region of Lviv. Over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. Another 17 kidnapped students rescued by Nigerian army in Sokoto. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar interacts with the Indian community in Singapore, highlights India's success story at economic as well as diplomatic front. About 23 Nigerian soldiers have been killed and 17 others wounded by suspected insurgents in the country's town of Tillaberi. Defense authorities say the soldiers were carrying out raids designed to reassure locals in the area of their safety when they were ambushed by the insurgents. Correspondent Tessim Akande reports from Jos in Nigeria.
The authorities say the troops were also able to neutralize 30 of the insurgents. More than 100 of them had attacked an army unit using homemade bombs and suicide vehicles. Niger Republic is ruled by a military junta which toppled the government of President Mohamed Bazoum in a coup in July last year, citing worsening insecurity as a reason. But the security concerns on attacks are yet to abate. In January, about 10 soldiers were wounded in the country's southeast and about a dozen insurgents killed after they clashed at a border town with Nigeria. The latest attack on the soldiers is coming barely a week after the Nigerian military announced that it was breaking up its military cooperation agreement with the United States. The country, just like Burkina Faso and Mali, also pulled out of West Africa's regional bloc ECOWAS, which has been addressing the security issues with a multinational joint task force comprising 15 member countries. The three countries have now set up a joint task force to tackle security threats in their countries. They say it will be operational soon. Tessim Akende in Jos, reporting for DD India.
And over 200 students and staff abducted by gunmen from a school in northern Nigeria earlier this month have been released. This was informed by the Office of Governor of Kaduna on Sunday. Earlier, Nigeria's army has rescued 17 students and a woman who were kidnapped in a dawn raid by armed men 2 weeks ago in northwest Sokoto. The attack at a school on March 9 came 2 days after the mass abduction of school children in Kaduna. Well, DD India correspondent Tessim Akande from Jos in Nigeria is with us for more details. Tessim, what's the latest update you're getting for us as 200 students and staff abducted from a school in northern Nigeria have been released now?
Well, the latest is that, like you said, the governor of Kaduna State, talking about Ubasani, has written publicly in a statement that the children have been released.
Okay.
Now, there are questions as to how they were released. Was ransom paid? There are a lot of questions on the lips of Nigerians asking if ransom was paid, which has become the acts of kidnappers in Nigeria now, to who and how. But the governor in that statement said has commended the National Security Advisor of the country and troops of the army for their courage. But yes, there are several questions as to how the release was actually made. Parents of the children are eagerly waiting for the children to be reunited with them, as they get prepared for that period.
Okay, Tessim, according to the sources, the ransom which was asked was about $690,000. Tell us something about that.
Well, like I said, it's not categorical as to whether some ransom was paid. But yes, the kidnappers had requested over $600,000 for the release of the children. Recall as well that President Bola Tinubu had said categorically that no dime will be paid to the abductors. The statement from the governor of Kaduna State is not clear whether any money was paid to the abductors. Many people on social media and all over Nigeria are asking whether any ransom was paid, and they are demanding answers. We don't know whether the authorities will make those details out in the future.
Okay, so there is no confirmation of the fact yet that if any money, any amount was paid to the kidnappers. Tessim, kidnappings by criminal gangs demanding ransoms have become an almost daily occurrence, especially in northern Nigeria. Are the authorities doing anything to prevent such acts in the future?
Yes, indeed. President Bola Tinubu has met with the security heads and talking about the Chief of Defense Staff here, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Chief of the Naval Staff, and giving them straight measures to ensure that kidnapping for ransom, is defeated squarely. We have assurances from the defense authorities that before this year rounds up, they would actually defeat it and Nigeria will be a safer place. Just to add that the parliament has passed a law prohibiting or criminalizing payment of ransom to abductors. These are all measures at ensuring that the act or the kidnapping for ransom generally is defeated or ended in Nigeria.
All right, no confirmation of the fact that if any money is paid to the kidnappers or not, but one good thing here is that the children are eagerly waited and so are the parents to be united with each other. Thank you so much. We leave it there. Thanks for your analysis. The United States government has pledged its support to the Southern Africa Development Community's quest to find a solution to the ongoing conflicts in Mozambique and the Democratic Republic of Congo. As the unrest continues in both the South African nations, the SADC mission is set to expire in Mozambique in July this year, whereas another SADC mission was deployed in DRC. The United States have agreed with Zambian president's views that both conflicts must be resolved for SADC to be peaceful.
It's a testament that so many heads of state have come here to Lusaka for this Troika meeting, extraordinary summit. Fundamentally, we agree with what we heard from President Hichilema, that we commend the countries of SADC and the troop contributing nations for contributing to ensure the humanitarian space is available to protect civilians.
Let's get you the latest on what's happening in India in the run-up to the world's largest democratic election in India. Ahead of 2024 general elections, National Democratic Alliance ally, the Janata Dal United, has also shortlisted candidates for its 16 constituencies in eastern state of Bihar based on seat sharing within the alliance. Among those whose names were announced include Lovely Anand from Shivhar, Devesh Chandra Thakur from Chitamari, Alok Suman from Gopalganj. For 543 Lok Sabha seats will commence in 7 phases starting April 19. Well, DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal joins us with more details from New Delhi. Dibyendu, the BJP held its CEC last evening. When is the final list expected? And are there any surprises expected in the list as we've seen in the past with many new faces? Are there any new faces expected this time around?
Well, Siddharth, that's right. The BJP held its Central Election Committee meeting last evening. The meeting went on for about 4 to 5 hours along with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, as well as BJP President JP Nadda. Present in the meeting, there are many surprises that we could see in the final list, or in fact, the list which many would say would be one of the biggest names, in fact with the largest number of seats, will be announced in a short while from now, is what we are picking up. By this late evening, we expect the BJP to release the list of candidates that it has decided in the CEC meeting last evening. So of course there could be many surprises. What our sources within the BJP tells us is that from Himachal Pradesh we could see a star candidate being projected by the BJP, in fact being nominated by the BJP to contest the 2024 general election. There could also be several new names who could contest the elections also from Uttar Pradesh. There could also be surprises coming our way in the state of Bihar, as well as from West Bengal. We are also hearing that the BJP could perhaps give new faces in the seats of the NCR, which is in Ghaziabad. But of course, we'll have to wait and watch as to what the BJP finally decides and when it puts out the list by this evening. But of course, there could be some fresh new faces, as the BJP is trying to ensure that its 370 plus seats on its own that the BJP has targeted, and above more than 400 seats for the NDA alliance The BJP is hoping that they will put out new and younger faces to contest the election this time around, so that the BJP could surpass the 370 mark target. In fact, the seats target that it has set for itself. So we can see more fresh faces, more energetic faces that appeals to the voters. We have also seen the former Air Chief Marshal joining the BJP this afternoon. So such new surprise, and of course he will be contesting elections either from UP or from Bihar, and it will certainly come to know when the list is out. Back to you.
Definitely, Dibyendu. The list is expected to come out late in the evening. Well, election campaigns are picking up pace, Dibyendu. What's latest in the political front you've got for us?
Well, of course, all the political parties, as we inch closer to the first phase of election, which is on the 19th of April. We are just less than a month away from the first phase of election being conducted. We are just about 3 days short of the first phase nomination to close. And, the campaign is slowly picking up pace across the country. Not just the national political parties, which is the Congress and the BJP campaigning in different parts of the country, but also we see many regional players who have, launched its campaign in full throttle to canvass for their candidates across the country. So we are also seeing many joinings that are happening from multiple sides. Some leaving the Congress to join the BJP, some leaving the BJP to join the Congress, and so on and so forth. Also for the regional political parties, which are prevalent in different parts of the different states in different parts of the country. So of course, as elections draw nearer and closer, we'll see more aggressive campaigning by political parties taking shape, and political leaders canvassing through their different constituencies. But of course, as the first phase includes elections in the southern state of Tamil Nadu as well as the northern state of Uttarakhand, where both the states entirely are going for elections, and also parts of northeast. So we'll see more of campaigning in these parts of the country during the next couple of days. But of course, soon we'll see the campaign momentum picking up across the country. Yes, back to you.
All right, the election campaigns are picking up pace, and like I say, in India, it's not just an electoral process, it's the festival. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for your analysis, Dibyendu. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Singh Thakur questioned the silence of Congress party over liquor case. Addressing a press conference, the I&B minister said that Congress, which used to attack Aam Aadmi Party over liquor case, has itself joined hands with them now. The minister also hit out at Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann for visiting New Delhi, while a number of people died in Punjab due to spurious liquor in Sangrur.
कल तक जो रिमोट कंट्रोल वाली सरकार कही जाती थी पंजाब से चलने वाली, वो पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री भी दिल्ली आ गए। अपने राज्य में, अपने जिला में 21 लोग शराब पी के मर गए, नकली शराब पी के। ये दिखता है पंजाब की सरकार सोई है। पंजाब की सरकार में नशों के व्यापारियों को संरक्षण मिल रहा है। जो पंजाब में समर्थन मिल रहा है शराब घोटाले के मुख्य आरोपी किंग पिन अरविंद केजरीवाल को, हम तब भी कहते थे अरविंद केजरीवाल किंग पिन है, और आज ईडी ने भी कहा है अरविंद केजरीवाल किंग पिन है।
All right, let's take a look at other stories making news. Rescue operation was underway in Delhi as a fire broke out in a factory located in the Narela area. 20 fire tenders were present at the spot to tame the situation. Reportedly, no casualties took place. The 35 Somalian pirates who were captured by Indian Navy's INS Kolkata on 16th of March were sent to police custody for 10 days by Mumbai Sessions Court. They were handed to Mumbai police yesterday. As India immerses itself in the festival of colours, Holi, devotees at Priyakanju temple in the northern city of Vrindavan soaked themselves in the celebrations. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Powerful storm systems delivered a double blow to the US Northeast, unleashing heavy rain and significant snowfall. We show you how the festival of colors, Holi, is being celebrated in parts of Europe. Austria's Baumgartner scores fastest ever international goal.
In today's episode, let's try to understand what does it mean to truly celebrate all women. Let's uncover the layers of their struggles in different walks of life.
My biggest motivation was to save the environmental waste that I was creating, to reduce the carbon footprint, waste footprint. And when we talk about menstrual waste or periods as a topic, I think this fits in very well with the intersection of social and environmental issues.
The weather in Meghalaya definitely one of the center points of how we design these systems. And then sort of maybe just take the region in the state and try and design a system that is designed to work in that situation.
We address financial education topics, from making a family budget to creating a small business plan for micro enterprises. Topics also include health and wellness for women.
Global temperatures have changed these days. That too, it doesn't rain where it needs to rain. And in this situation, the only crop that survives is millet.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. The Indian Embassy in the United Kingdom extended a warm invitation to Indian students living in the UK. They were welcomed to India House to join in the lively celebrations of Holi. There, amidst the cheerful atmosphere, they immersed themselves in the joyous festivities, painting the day with vibrant colors and savoring delicious sweets. Well, also, Holi is being celebrated in other parts of Europe, including Brussels. The Indian expat community in Brussels is celebrating Holi today. It's occasion for many to feel close to home and for others to experience a taste of Indian culture. Our correspondent Ishan Garg is at the Brussels Mandir, where the event is being held. Ishan, happy Holi to you, first of all. And can you provide us with insights, Ishan, into how Holi is being celebrated in Brussels this year?
Very happy Holi to you as well, and as you can see and probably hear behind me, loud music, Bollywood music thumping right behind me, and there's lots of people who have gathered here from all across Brussels, and this is one moment for many of them who've been away from home for a very, very long time to get a slice of home finally. And I don't just mean that metaphorically, I also mean that quite literally, because on my left hand side you've got food stalls selling a lot of different varieties of Indian food, a lot of Indian snacks, and I'm actually standing right next to the kitchen where you can actually smell the food being cooked inside. So, you know, it's all about dance celebrations, it's all about the colors, it's all about the food, and that's how people here are celebrating.
Definitely. How amazing it is where you are standing right now, Ishan. What significance does the celebration of Holi hold for the Indian diaspora and other communities residing in Brussels? Because it's not just about the colors, it's all about a platform where people unite, communities unite and celebrate the unity.
You're certainly right about that, and that is the deeper feeling with the people here. On the surface level, of course, there's a celebration and everything, but deeper than that, it's all about celebrating the community. It's all about celebrating those cultures and those traditions that most people here are fighting very hard to hold on to. They are in a country where not a lot of Indians live. Belgian Indian population is actually quite tiny, and that's why a lot of here come to stick together and celebrate these festivals together. And in one sense, there's also this sense that they want to pass on this tradition, this culture to the young ones, to the younger members of their family. And the Brussels Mandir, actually, some of the organizers here were telling me how hard they've fought to collect money. Every single penny has gone towards making this small community center for the thousands of Hindus who live here in Brussels.
All right, I can see behind you people are dancing, Ishan, people are celebrating, they are playing with colors. Can you just tell us how's the atmosphere there, and what are people saying? What are their thoughts?
Well, the atmosphere is absolutely electric. You can see people keep on coming right behind me. We've actually, it's been a bit difficult to find a spot to actually come and report to you, because this place, right now there are hundreds of people, but the organizers have told me that there's going to be more than 1,000 people here, people coming across Brussels to gather here, and this entire place is going to fill out in the next couple of hours.
All right.
And ultimately there's going to be a lot of food, there's also going to be some prayers, and people are gathering just to celebrate this festival far away from home, but in a sense they're making it closer to home.
Ishan, I would say that there is nothing like home. You know, everyone out there is missing home, certainly. But I want to ask you that since you are there in Brussels, are there any unique traditions or customs observed during Holi celebrations in Brussels compared to India?
Well, it's a lot of it's actually the same, but there are some things which are different. So, for example, as we would see back at home, Holi is a celebration that's out on the streets. It's out, it's in people's homes. But here, people have to come to a community center to do it all together. It's done in a rather more organized fashion and a slightly less organic fashion. One more thing that I found was quite different is because you've got Indian sweets here, but of course you've got the European cupcakes as well, which is quite unique, I think. Apart from that, you see a lot of the colors that are being used are actually powdered colors, not a lot of liquid colors being used.
Indeed.
So most of the things are same.
All right, Ishan, like I say, that it's not just about the colors, it's not just about dancing, it's about, when different communities come together, they celebrate the unity. Thank you so much for your analysis, Ishan. With the Festival of Colours around the corner, more than 3,000 prominent activists from India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party gathered in the Chandni Chowk Lok Sabha constituency. Union Minister Smriti Irani was the chief guest of the event called Holi Utsav. Along with activists, traders, renowned artists and people also joined the event. Delhi police is deploying special teams on Holi to ensure safety during celebrations. Ahead of Holi, special teams will be deployed at major road intersections to check drunken driving and red light jumping in Delhi NCR. Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya spoke to DCP New Delhi Devesh Kumar Mala.
It's Holi time in the national capital, and Delhi police is leaving no stone unturned to make sure it's a safe Holi in the national capital. And to talk more about that, I have with me DCP New Delhi.
We have called up a meeting of all the hotels and restaurants yesterday. We have briefed them all how to conduct and how to, they should not make anyone drink extra, and should be a responsible drinking, and responsibility is also on the shoulders of those who are running the business of hotel and bar. We have briefed them accordingly. Also, those who are having a particular license like casual performance license, we have briefed them also. The area which we feel are vulnerable or maybe some issue over there during Holi, we are patrolling that with outside force. Tomorrow we will be having around 30-35 pickets, including the inter-district border picket and inside it, which will be manned not only by the local police and the CAPF outside force, but also we will be having the joint picket as far as possible with the traffic and PCR to enforce it more. It's all about education and enforcement, both. We are functioning on, we are looking into all of that. Along with that, we will be having around 50 vehicles patrolling the roads and bylanes in the district tomorrow from 7 a.m. onwards. And we will make sure that no untoward incident takes place in the New Delhi district area.
Delhi police is all geared up to tackle any untoward situation. With personally, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Powerful storm systems delivered a double blow to the US Northeast, unleashing heavy rain and significant snowfall. New England, particularly Vermont, saw over a foot of snow on Saturday. Flood warnings and wind advisories were issued on sections of New York and New Jersey, where floodwaters brought traffic to a standstill in some areas of a tri-state region. As per the National Weather Service, flood warnings persisted for parts of New Jersey into early Sunday morning. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport. And top-seeded Spainard Carlos Alcaraz breezed into a win over countryman Roberto Cabales Baena on Saturday night to advance to third round of the rain-hit Miami Open. The 20-year-old Alcaraz broke the 31-year-old Cabales Baena early and often to claim a 6-2, 6-1 victory and advanced to the next round, where he'll face France's Gael Monfils. Austria's Christoph Baumgartner scored 6 seconds after kickoff in Saturday's 2-0 friendly win over Slovakia, the fastest recorded goal in international football. The 24-year-old sprinted from the centre circle and skipped past 3 challenges before firing a low shot from outside the box into the bottom corner. A record that had stood for almost 11 years was almost broken. Again, hours later, as Florian Wirtz scores Germany's fastest international goal after only 7 seconds, as the Euro 2024 hosts earned a confidence-boosting 2-0 friendly victory over France. Wirtz thundered in a shot from a quick pass from Toni Kroos, back from a 3-year international retirement straight after kickoff. Lukas Podolski's goal for Germany against Ecuador in 2013 had been the quickest international goal scored until Baumgartner and Wirtz's efforts. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.